Okay, so welcome to the Inspiring Leaders Talk this evening, right? Which I'm very, very excited today. So today's inspiration talk theme is what marathon teaches about leadership and life. And for the attendance that we have, for the attendance profile that we have today, we have attendance from UK, from United Arab Emirates, and then from the US, of course, right? And Jakarta. So I'm Novie Hernawati. I will be your host today. So from Indonesia Human Resource Foundation for Leadership, usually we conduct this in a form of CEO tables and leadership forums and summits. But now with the new normal, we do this through the online platform. Right? Actually, this is one of the practices of adaptive leaderships, or the turning points or the pandemics that we're encountering right now. So these are some of the theme of our inspiring talk, the CEO talk that we've done, and we are doing this as we go along. So again, welcome everyone that has joined, that's just starting to join. So as a host today, I will be collecting and summarizing questions from the audience, right? So this evening, that will be later brought by the moderator during the Q&A session, right? But before we start, we have a set of rules of the game that I will need to read out. Throughout the talk this evening, the committee will implement the audio mute, right? Therefore, all the communications will be done via the chat room on the left side of your screen. For questions, please type in your questions, right, along with your name and your location. If you're in Jakarta or if you are in the UK, and to be unmuted, also please request this through the chat room. So participants will not be allowed to post any promotional, right, or showing pictures or videos against the law of Undang-Undang ITE, Informasi dan Transaksi Elektronik Republik Indonesia. The committee has the right to exit participants not adhering to that specific rules. So during the speaking session, the view on the screen, because we have quite a lot of attendance, the view on the screen will be the speakers, right? And then right now we have all the participants, but during the speaking session, we'll have the speakers on the screen, and we will go back to all the speakers' view during the Q&A and the Putri section. Okay. Right. So today we will be featuring an incredible and inspiring speaker. He's a business professor. He's a life and performance coach. He's a TEDx speaker, and also a marathon trail runner. He's been featured in the running magazines. He's live from Denver, Colorado, early in the morning, right? His time in the beautiful mountains. So we'll welcome him. And we also have along with us an excellent running community partner, which is called the Night Runners, which they accommodate all the busy runners that has time to practice during the evenings. So we will hear from them, from the runners. And of course, as moderator, our talk will be the beautiful Rahma Alia, non-Alia. She was the former news anchor, producer, journalist, right, of TV. She was Putri Indonesia, Pariwisata, Novie Jakarta. I mean, among of all her many more achievements. So how are you, non-Alia?
I'm good, thank you very much. And hello to everybody. Thanks for joining the session. And hello, Andrew, of course. Good morning.
Hello, Alia. Good morning, or good afternoon, good evening, I guess I should say, right?
This is supper time, so yeah.
So today is a very unique theme, yeah. So it's what marathon teaches about leadership and life. So what is the correlation? So I'm very excited for today because I have been wanting to invite this speaker to Indonesia since a long time ago.
So we're lucky today.
And you are welcome out here, Novie, as well. You're welcome to Colorado too. So.
Wow, that's an invitation.
There you too, Alia. Absolutely, right?
Yeah, with the running shoes, I'm sure.
Absolutely, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess without further ado, I will hand over this Leaders Inspiring Talk for today on what Marathon teaches about leadership and life over to the moderator, Alia.
Thank you very much, Novie, and welcome and thank you for joining the session. Hello again, everybody. I see that so many people are interested with this topic. What Marathon teaches us about leadership and life. Well, some of you who are runners can probably relate to this topic already, but of course, the non-runners like me are also interested to know what is there between running and life skills and being successful in business. How could those pairs of running shoes help to reform one's life? This is very interesting. Because if you're seeking for business advice when starting a business, I don't think whoever mentor you had in the past has ever suggested to train for long distance running. Although many says, if you want to be successful in almost anything, you need to have the grit, courage, persistency, and resilience. How can endurance training like Marathon teach us all life skills like these? While in this time around, also maybe people are looking for new opportunities in business, or at the point where you think you should just quit putting effort on your business after being hit terribly by a pandemic, or simply feeling insecure about your career. Well, don't get frustrated yet. Wait till you hear from our very special guest, Professor Andrew Johnston. Hi again, Andrew. Thank you for joining us tonight. Well, this morning, maybe.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
good evening, and thank you for that very kind, invite today. You and Novie, thank you.
Yeah, you're most welcome. We would like to hear more about you. Could you share about yourself? You are a business professor who teach and coach, and somebody who has years of experience in private industry as well as an ultra marathon runner. And you create this. You develop this unique life-changing course entitled Change Through Challenge. So your students need to do a final exam, which is running a 26.2 miles marathon, because you believe if they do that, they could master the key virtues for leadership in life, which is resilience, persistence, courage, and grit. What does business and life successes correlate with marathon running? Could you elaborate that?
You bet. Well, I'll start with your first question there, Alia. I mean, as far as a little who I am, right now I'm the director of leadership development for a global medical transport company called Global Medical Response. We're a ground ambulance company and an air ambulance company. And in my role right now as the director of leadership development, I'm creating the leadership program for our paramedics and emergency medical technicians. So you have someone who's maybe been a paramedic for the past 10 years and they've been a great paramedic. Now they're becoming a leader, becoming a boss, and they're just struggling and they're learning how to become a boss. And so that's what my colleagues and I are developing right now. We're helping them develop those communication skills and those leadership skills to become a boss. And I've been doing that now for almost 2 years. Before that, I was, as you mentioned, I was a business professor at Red Rocks Community College, teaching mostly adult learners, people in their 20s and 30s, on the same topic, kind of business communication, leadership, those kinds of things. And, you know, when I was there at the college, as you mentioned there, Leah, developed a class called Change Through Challenge. And to my knowledge, I think it's the only business class that was featured in Runner's World magazine of all
Yeah,
places.
I've heard that. That's really something.
It's crazy. And
Crazy.
I have to give credit to the president of the college and to my boss, my colleagues there at the school, for letting us try this. And where this really all started was when I first started teaching. This was about 10 years ago. I noticed that the dropout rate, the failure rate for students was enormous. And I started really studying this. I'm like, why are so many students not making it through school? And it had nothing to do with brains. I mean, there were a lot of smart students that were fading out. It wasn't up here. It was really lacking down here. It was that grit, that determination, persistence, and grit. Well, how do you teach grit? Right? I mean, that was the real question. And, there's all kinds of books and videos and self-help stuff out there, which isn't bad. But, as I mentioned in the TED Talk, it's sort of like learning to ride a bike. I mean, you can watch videos and read books on how to ride a bike, but until you actually ride the bike, you don't really know how to ride a bike. And I was kind of thinking the same thing on teaching grit. How do you teach grit? Well, I remember I was backing out of my driveway one morning, and I remember that eureka moment. And I thought, why not offer a class where students train for and complete a marathon? Because I found, and maybe we could talk about this if you want, Alia. I've just found in my life, I mean, I've gone through I've had some struggles in my life, and I found that running was the vehicle to give me that strength. It was that medicine to help me endure, to give me that persistence, determination, and grit. And I'm like, if it helped me through so many tough times in my life, perhaps this is a good vehicle for our students. And so again, to the credit of the people at the college, the president, my boss, and my colleagues, we piloted it. And, people, of course, thought this is crazy. Nobody's going to sign up for this class. Nobody's going to do this class. And fortunately, they were all wrong. I mean, we taught the class for 3 years. Boy, we had 100 students go through the class. It's a 22-week class, by the way. You go from couch potato, marathon runner, or walker. Just finish it. You don't even have to run it in 22 weeks. And so we had everybody from all walks of life, everything from the single mom to the 60-year-old CFO and everyone in between take this class. And I think I only had 5 people drop the class those 3 years that we taught it. We had a number of students that had to drop down to the half marathon because of injury or life events, but everybody finished the class, whether it was the marathon or the half marathon. And we found it was a terrific vehicle. The marathon is a great vehicle for teaching those life skills those skills that are not only important for business, but for life as well. So anyway, that was sort of a mouthful there, Lihat. I'm happy to dive into something specific there, but that's sort of an overview of the past few years. And by the way, I should maybe mention, in my current role at Global Medical Response, it's amazing. When I'm talking with our paramedics about leadership, I'm always referencing that Change Through Challenge class and the running, right? In fact, I sort of joke with our supervisors. I'm like, guys, none of you are going to have to do any running in this class, I promise. But there's a lot of similarities. There's a lot of similarities between training for a marathon and becoming a great leader. And anyway, we could talk about that, but that's sort of the stage of where I've been and kind of why I do what I do.
Well, that's very interesting. I'm just curious, how did you ever start running? Did you experience a turning point in your life that made you go for running?
Yeah, boy, that's a good question. There was actually 2 turning points. I think that's the right word there, Alia. I would say the first one was in the year 2000. By the way, let me just preface this. I do not have any athletic talent at all. No, not one athletic bone in my body. The only thing that's helped me is I can keep going, right? I will finish next to last in any race. I might not be faster than anybody, but I think I can go longer than anybody. But anyway, we can talk about that later. But in the year 2000, when I was married at the time, my wife at the time was wanting to lose weight, so she joined Weight Watchers. And I didn't really want to join Weight Watchers. It wasn't something that really, I didn't think it was really right for me, but I wanted to support her, and I wanted to lose some weight to get better shape, because at the time I couldn't even run a mile or 2. I mean, I was really out of shape. I was easily 20 pounds heavier at the time. So I went on the Runner's World website and I pulled down the beginner marathon training program. And I'm like, why not? So I printed it off, I put it on the refrigerator, and I just followed training plan for running a marathon for the first time. And this was in the year 2000. And
back.
yeah, a long time ago. I was 31 years old. And here's the thing, not only did I finish the marathon, I mean, it was ugly. It took me like 5.5 hours to do it. But what I found that was so amazing is the training. It wasn't so much the race. The race was more of a celebration. It's what I became in that process. I found that marathon training throughout that, because it was 6 or 7 months of training. But that training, it really helped me in other endeavors in life. The mental benefits were phenomenal. The second turning point was in the year 2009. And by the way, after 2000, I was hooked. I was, running maybe a marathon a year. Nothing really big though. Just, one marathon a year, trying to keep in somewhat decent shape. But in 2009, the American economy went through a pretty severe economic downturn, kind of like what we're going through right now. And I remember I lost my job. I was laid off. We were deep in debt. I mean, my kids were young at the time. It was a really, really challenging time in life. And I really, at that time, I turned to running, and I started getting into trail runs, started exploring the whole notion of ultra marathons. And again, I found solace in running. I found that getting out in nature, getting out on the trails, getting outside, that training gave me that strength and endurance and that courage to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, you were lucky.
Yeah.
Because I heard in Colorado, it's a very beautiful trail over there for runners. So you're very lucky.
Yeah, I think though, just getting outside, no matter where you live, there's something about just being outside in nature. There's something to it. But I just found it was a great vehicle for, again, giving me that internal strength. Again, I'm not a fast guy at all, but it was a vehicle for personal growth and making other things in life better as well.
Well, you look at you right now. You are turned into an athlete with a very, toned body, and you could believe it probably 20 years ago when you started.
I'm in better shape at 51 than I was in 31, Alia. So for those of you who are listening and you think, well, I have to be young to do this, it's never too late to start. And yeah.
That's great. I'm going to go back to you, Andrew, but we have one runner. His name is Pak Hasbi. He's going to join us and share his experience as well, because he's a runner. He's a 9-time Ironman finisher. So we want to hear from him what he feels after being a runner that actually impacts his life, his career life, and his mindset and everything. So selamat malam, Pak Hasbi. Good evening. Are you here with us? Yeah, he's here, but he's not in the camera yet. Yeah.
Yeah, so he says that he's interested in hearing you, Mr. Johnston, because he likes running in Colorado. Yeah, because I think his son is there. So Boulder, Golden, are among his.
Oh, wow! Well, tell him I could learn some lessons from him, an Ironman. Yeah, we'll go running together in Colorado.
He wrote something on the chat. He said, "Hello, interested hearing from Mr. Johnston. I like running in Colorado. Nice place. Boulder, Golden are among my favorite places." Yeah, that's
Boulder,
what he said.
There are a lot of amazing athletes, a lot of Ironman athletes in Boulder. So I would love to meet you, Hasbi.
Yeah, we're still waiting for Hasbi.
I think his camera is not on. Okay, so
all right, okay.
We'll go back.
So maybe, we'll go back to him.
No worries.
Andrew, I'm interested when you say when you run, when you are trained this endurance training, you can choose what kind of future you want in the future, how many years, whatever you want to set the goal. It's not only dependent on the situations. As we know, like we're in the midst of this pandemic, we don't know what's going to happen in the future because everything is very uncertain. So what is your tips on this kind of situation to be able to be strong mentally and physically?
Yeah, great question, Aaliyah. We're in what, the third month of this now, I think? We're 14, 15. I think the challenge now, I think before when this thing first started, the challenge was getting through the fear and uncertainty. I think now the challenge is just getting through the fatigue. I think people are just fatigued now. And again, I think that's where, marathon training or just distance training in general helps you get through that. You think about it, when you train for a 26.2-mile marathon, the habits that you have to develop, right? It's doing small things over and over and over consistently over time. Let me just say it again. It's doing small things consistently over time, which means it's doing the things you need to do on the days you don't feel like doing, which is almost always. And so I think by definition, you learn how to persevere and how to get through fatigue. That's what marathon training teaches you. So I think when we're in a situation like this, whether you're a business owner, you're a leader, and you're feeling fatigued, you can draw on that experience, on those experiences from distance training, and you can draw on that. You know what it's like to push through fatigue, and when you know what it's like to push through fatigue, the beauty is, I think you become better equipped to help others push through fatigue as well. For instance, with marathon training, it's almost overwhelming, right? When a student, like when one of my students first signs up for the class, they're just overwhelmed. They're like, oh my gosh, what do I do here? I'm like, look, we're going to break this into weekly bites. It's that cliche, how do you meet an elephant? It's one bite at a time. Well, that's what a marathon is. To get through that, you have to break it down into weekly tasks and just eat the elephant slowly, slowly, slowly. And pretty soon you'll endure and you will get through. And I think that mindset is so crucial right now. Just break it up into small little tasks. Just get to the next aid station, so to speak, right? Because if you get through enough aid stations, guess what? You're gonna get to the finish line.
So that's the method of goal setting. That's the best to do right now.
I think so. It's take that big goal, right? Well, first of all, you got to know what that big goal is. What is that big thing that you're trying to achieve, right? Know what you want, know why you want it, because that why piece is super critical, right? Because if you don't know why you're trying to do what you're trying to do, you won't get up, you won't do the hard work. So what do you want? Why do you want to do it? And then have a specific plan to execute, and then break it up into small, manageable tasks, just like a marathon.
So you need to have a purpose in every way you do. You need to have a purpose.
I think, in fact, Aaliyah, I love that word. I think without the purpose, I think it all falls apart. In fact, in the marathon class, there's only 2 assignments. Finish the marathon, right? That's the final exam. But then the very first week of class, I give them a writing assignment. And I ask the students, I tell them, I said, listen, it can be a sentence, it can be a paragraph, but I want you to answer this one question. Why are you taking this class? And what's going to keep you from quitting when you want to quit? Why are you taking this class? And what's going to keep you from quitting when you want to quit? Because you're going to want to quit. And I ask them to do that because I want to know that they have a why. Because come week 4, week 5, it ain't gonna be so much fun. It's all gonna be all work. And if you don't have that purpose and that driving, gotta have it kind of mentality, you've got to have that reason and that purpose. Otherwise, it all falls apart. So yeah.
All right.
Yep.
Okay, now.
I've been listening, and I completely understand with the points that you brought, and I completely agree. The running is perfect metaphor for life. So that's true that you have to have the goal. You have to set the goal. You have to break the plan into pieces, manageable pieces, and it's like many people say that marathon is half physical and 90% mental. So it's actually more than 100% that you should put in.
Even more so for the Iron Man there, Hasbi.
Yeah, that's correct.
That's correct.
He can fly as well, not only run. As
So
Iron Man.
I'm not going to continue talking because I want to listen to you. But yeah, it's more about setting the goal, setting the training plan, knowing that everything is not going to happen perfectly all the time. That you have to have setbacks every now and then.
Yes.
But then again, just like 42 kilometers running or 26 miles, you have to know when you take the drinks, when you take the intake, because you cannot just stop and quit, but you have to get back into the game again, and looking at the finish line as your ultimate goal. But yeah, that's from me. I'd like to be able to come again to Colorado, Denver probably, and we go running over there. It's very nice. Thank you.
Well, Hasbi, I'm only about 23 miles from Boulder, so you are welcome, my friend. We'll go hit some trails up here. Absolutely.
Will do.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Andrew.
Boy, I think
Thank you.
Hasbi,
Thank you so much.
You mentioned something I think is so key there. I mean, like you said, when you're training for an endurance event, whether it's an ultra marathon or I can only imagine with an Ironman where you have 3 events, you're gonna have setbacks. And I think this type of endurance training really helps condition your mind to pivot and adapt to those unforeseen setbacks, because it's just by definition you're going to have them, right? You're going to have something go wrong with your stomach. The weather's going to do something strange, or like in Hasbi's situation, you might have some equipment failure, right? And learning how to keep cool, keep your emotions in check, and to be able to pivot and adapt with those setbacks is super crucial. And so then you think about that in the context of what we have today with this pandemic. I mean, nobody saw this coming. And I would submit to you that the survivors of this pandemic are going to be the people who could stay mentally strong, but who could also, as Hasbi mentioned, who could pivot and adapt, who can get through the fatigue and see the new opportunity and find their way. They still have that purpose out there. Maybe they've had to adapt it a little bit, and then they adjust their plan and they execute on that new plan instead of freezing up, which I think, unfortunately, is maybe what a lot of people do. But again, I think this training really helps condition that mindset to be a leader or an entrepreneur in this really strange environment we have. So good, great point there, Hasbi. Yeah.
Once again, thank you very much for sharing with us.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm also inviting the other participants who would like to ask questions to Professor Andrew Johnston here. There's one already, actually, from Handi Maharjana. Hi, how are you? So his question is, how long did it take you from casual runner to a marathon runner?
Oh, yeah. Okay, so yeah, that was in the year 2000. I found the beginning running marathon plan on Runner's World. I think it was like 7 or 8 months. I think it was 7, because I just simply followed the plan, and I will be honest, I was not fast. I'm still not fast, but I just followed the plan. I think it was a 4-day-a-week training plan, and yeah, the class that I teach, or that I used to teach, we did it in 22 weeks, which is a little bit, it's a little bit fast, but I think you can go from beginner to marathon runner, you know, 6 to 8 months, depending on your shape.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So there you go. 6 to 8 months, we see that Kang Handi there is gonna be a marathon runner.
We're gonna get Alia some shoes here by the
Exactly
interview here. Yeah, right.
I'm looking forward for that. I can't wait.
Yeah. And you know, Alia, let me mention maybe one other thing before I forget. You know, I mean, you know, for Hasbi and I, you know, the vehicle that we're using is, I mean, like he's using Ironman. I'm using marathon training as a vehicle, but you know, it can be anything. I mean, I would tell the people that are on the call here today, you know, it could be tennis, it could be the bicycle, heck, it could maybe even be gardening. I don't know. I think the key though is just finding that vehicle, that thing that's worth struggling for, something that makes you struggle, makes you a little uncomfortable, preferably makes you sweat a little bit, that feels a little scary, that forces you to stick with it. But it doesn't have to necessarily be running, but I think there's more than one way of doing this, but I think that's sort of the criteria.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was gonna ask you, I mean, if somebody is not really interested in running, could they get, or could they learn how to have that grit, as you mentioned, through other things? And what kind of standard or what kind of push that they need to have until they reach that sort of character that we need that to be successful in anything?
Yeah, great question. No, I think there's I think it can be other things. I think the key, well, like, let me give some examples. I think it could be like backpack, right? You know, I think it could be like martial arts, tennis, bike riding. I think the criteria though, and I do like your word there. I think the key though is finding something that requires a prolonged struggle. Right, like Hasbi is doing the Ironman, or I'm doing the marathon. This requires a person to do small things consistently over time, and I would say that that's the criteria, and something that makes you maybe physically get out there and work hard consistently over time. I think that would be the criteria. And again, there's a lot of things you can do. You know, you can do power walking, but I think it's that repetition, that, you know, training your mind and your body to get up and do things you don't want to do, but you do it anyway. Doing that for a prolonged period of time kind of calluses your mind and gets your mind ready for situations like this on the job or in life, because that's what you got to do in life. Is get up and do small things on the days you don't want to do them. So yeah, great question there, Leah.
Yeah, if I imagine, for example, people who have steady jobs and suddenly they got released from the job and they don't know what to do, and they are forced to do something that, you know, to survive the life, you know, maybe that sort of thing that pushes you or forces you to get out of your comfort zone and you know, to think creatively and to push yourself to the limit. You know, it could be anything, as you said. But then again, you mentioned a lot of examples about, I think it comes from sports. So does it?
PhD, right? She's earning her doctorate. There's nothing physical about that, but you know, it is very similar to the marathon. I mean, she's having to do small, consistent things every week over a long period of time. So she is developing grit. But that said, I still think something physical, something athletic is ideal for developing that grit mindset, simply because I think there's a connection between the body and the mind. I think the key to a great mind runs through the body. I mean, I've come up, in fact, I developed the Change Through Challenge class. You know, I mean, I thought of the idea when I was backing out of the driveway, but I worked out the whole course itself while on various runs. I mean, I think of all the problems, the things that I think all of that work on the run. I mean, I think there's just something healthy and beneficial about a physical vehicle. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I asked you earlier, why are you standing? And your answer was because when you stand, it gives you the energy, it gives you the confidence and everything. When you speak, it's just giving you all out, you know, energy.
You know, again, I just, it's one of my mantras, you know, the key to the mind runs through the body. I mean, you think about it, if you were trying to put some advanced software on an old broken down laptop, it wouldn't work, right? I mean, in order for that software to be strong and efficient, you got to have the strong hardware. The hardware supports the software. And I think that's the same thing. If you want to be your best at work, or be the best for your family, or for your kids, or for your business, I think there's some, having a strong body helps allow that. And you know, I carry a notebook with me on my runs, because a lot of times that's when the best ideas come to me. They seldom happen when I'm behind my desk. And so, you know, when I'm out on a run, or if I'm out on a hike on the mountains, you know, I got my little notebook with me, and that's where things happen. So I don't think, I guess the short answer is, I don't think it has to necessarily be something physical to develop that grit and resilience. But at least for me, I find that I think it's a better way of doing it.
Right, but TikTok dance does not count. So yeah, I'm gonna read out some questions and comments from our participants. Yeah,
Sure.
Novie?
Yeah, maybe we go to the our partners, our running partner.
Sure.
Right. We have yes, we have somebody from the Night Runners community. She is going to share with us as well tonight, and she is Kapnida. Good evening, Kapnida. Her name is Anida Anastiani, and
Yes.
and she's already with us. Good evening. Hello.
Hello. Good evening.
Hi, Anita.
I'm so glad to be here.
Yes. Hello, Captain. Would you share with us your experience in running, and probably how that impacts your life?
Okay. Well, I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm a new in the running world. I started at 2014. The simplest my goal is just to lose some weight. And then in 2016, after I joined a sport community, I know about race, I know about marathon event. So I joined one, and then it's like a addiction. It's like, yeah, like I feel something, not just something that can change my physique, but also, yes, I agree with Mr. Andrew, it's changed my psychological, mental health, or also, yeah, like that. So I think I feel the effect of running when I cannot achieve my target. I have to graduate on 2019, but because the external factors, I cannot accomplish that. But I think because I already joined some race or marathon, and maybe just a little example, a little practice for the race or the marathon, I learned about accepting. Maybe if I don't have a hobby in running, maybe I can learn. I cannot learn about accepting like that. So when I cannot accomplish my goal in academic, I think I can more accepting myself. Like I I like accepting myself in running. Sometimes in running, for example, in practice, not race or not marathon, we set a goal, like a distance. Oh, I want to run 5K today, or I want to run 30 minutes today. But sometimes we cannot achieve that. Unconsciously, I think it makes me better in accepting. So it impact also to my academic life. That's my simple experience about running.
Thank you very much,
Captain Mida,
Captain.
Yeah.
have your camera on. We want to see it.
Oh,
Yes, we cannot see your face.
sorry. I thought it already on. I'm sorry.
Are you running at the moment?
Okay.
I hope you're not running
Is
outside.
it already on?
Okay.
Okay, still loading. Okay. Hello. I'm sorry. I thought it already on. Hi,
There she
Mr. Andrews.
Hi, Anita.
Yes. Yeah. So that's my story about how running affects my life. Before I run regularly, I thought that I am a person that very hard to accept something negative happen to my life. So yeah, that's.
Wow. Thank you very much.
Is, I think marathon training or just running in general helps you. It does help you accept act in life and the truth adversities. I think that's a great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, accept a failure. It's never easy, but without accepting, you cannot move on to the next stage.
Yeah, that's true.
I have dropped out of a number of races. There's a number of ultra marathons. I had to drop. So that's a great point. I think that's a huge thing. Learning how to accept failure and move on and accept yourself.
Yes, that's what I feel.
So, good for you, and thank you very much for sharing.
Thank you.
I hope this pandemic is going to be over soon, so all the runners, gather together and run again.
Yeah, we really miss each other.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we're going through these questions from the participants. Yeah, we have quite plenty questions here, actually. Okay, this is from Dewanga Ardian Pratama, and he said, why do you choose to be a marathon runner instead to be an athlete from any other type of sport? Maybe you answered that a little bit. And he's from Utrecht.
Is that for Anita or is that for me, Alia?
For you.
Oh,
And for
okay.
you.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's sort of individual. Running for me is just, it gives me that alone time. To me, running is very, or even hiking, or especially when you're out in nature on the trails, it's very meditative. And for me, it's just the ideal vehicle to kind of empty my mind and just kind of get into I call it a meditation. And especially when you're out there for 8, 9, 10, 12 hours for some of these extended periods of time. I just find it the ideal vehicle for that. Here's the other reason, just to be honest. Again, I have no athletic talent, and doing ultra marathons, you're doing a lot of walking. It's essentially a long day hike, and so running, all it is a pair of shoes, and you just get out and start moving. So you don't have to be fast, you don't have to be talented. You just have to be willing to keep going. And so that's the other reason why I love, I think running is very good, is I think it's very accessible. I think anybody can do it. And so that's great question there.
Right. I hope that answers the question. And moving on to the next one. This is from George from Bali.
Hi, George.
I used to go to, he said, I used to go to University of Denver, class 1999 for my MBA. So I used to run. around Boulder and Mount Alpine back then. Love that place so much. Key point of life for a marathon are persistence and determination. So he's sharing it with all of us.
Very good.
Yes. Oh, he also asked, how does marathon correlate with leadership skill?
Yeah. Oh, great question. You know, the mantra when I'm helping somebody run a marathon, like in the Change Through Challenge, we have the mantra. It's not about doing the occasional big things. It's about doing the consistent small things. Let me just say that again. I wish I told the class, I said, I would love this to be a bumper sticker on your car, right? It's not about doing the occasional big things. It's about doing the consistent small things. What I teach our paramedics at Global Medical Response is I say, guys, becoming a better leader, developing loyalty in your people, it's just like running a marathon. It's not about doing the occasional big things. It's about doing the consistent small things over time. So things like following up, right? Doing what you say you're going to do. Leading by example, right? Being consistent. Keeping your word. Telling the truth, right? It's these little things done consistently over time that builds loyalty in your people. Well, guess what? That's how you run a marathon too. And so I think that's the similarities there between marathon training.
That's great. So George is there. We can see his face right now. Hi, George.
Hi, George.
Okay, so we have a next question from Aurora Almarini. Hello, Mbak Aurora. So hi, Mr. Johnston. Alma. Oh, okay. She's called Alma. I'm Alma from Jakarta. I'm a former artistic swimming athlete and now currently coaching artistic swimming to kids aged 7 to 16. So she thinks that marathon is really a good exercise variations for their endurance, but some of them are still very young. So do you think that it's okay if she gives them the same marathon program as she gives to the big girls, you know, the young girls and the big girls? Would they have the same marathon endurance programs could be applied?
Well, I mean, I don't know if you'd want to have small kids train for a marathon, and you know, maybe I would defer to people that have some, you know, maybe some medical expertise, but I would say for smaller kids, I don't think it has to be a marathon per se, 26.2 miles, but I think you can instill that mindset, that mentality. You know, you could have small kids train for maybe a 5K, you know, or a 10K. And I think even with that vehicle, with that shorter distance though, I think that mentality is the same. Teaching these young kids, you know, doing small things consistently over time, you know, like getting up 4 days a week and going out for a mile or two, drinking water all day, eating healthy, getting 7 hours of sleep. In other words, doing the work to reach that goal, even if it's just a 5K or a 10K. I still think that mentality can be taught. But I don't know if I would do necessarily a marathon. But again, I think that the key thing though is the mentality can still be taught, even if it's still a shorter distance.
I hope that answers the question.
Yeah.
Yes. And Novie, would you like to read the next one?
All right. So we have a question from Fitri Anindita. Actually, she's a good friend of mine. You know, she's a professional. She's a professional worker. So, Professor Johnston, are you on a certain diet or eating plan that you stick to which helps build you a strong physics to be able to run in a marathon? And how to be disciplined on that?
It's hard.
I wish I could say I had a secret diet here. I'm a little weak on the diet. I mean, I will say I lean towards protein. I don't think there's one way of doing it. You know, I mean, I suspect a lot of folks who are on the call here today maybe know who Scott Jurek is. Scott Jurek is one of, you know, the preeminent ultra marathon runners, and he You know, he does a plant-based diet, and I've heard there's a lot of wisdom and efficacy in a plant-based diet. You know, myself, I'm kind of old-fashioned. You know, protein, carbohydrates, stronger protein than carbohydrates is kind of where I'm at. I try and lay off sugar. Don't eat a lot of sugar. Don't eat a lot of sweets. No soda pop. I try and eat as clean as I can, but you know, I just try and, my philosophy is if it comes in a box, it's probably not very good for you. So again, a lot of protein, carbohydrates, stay off sugar, drink a lot of water, and I would say that's about it. I think sugar is probably the biggest. I think that's the biggest killer, is just staying off of the processed food, the sugar. Just try and keep it as natural as you can.
It's quite hard because we in Indonesia, we have so many yummy snacks and it's loaded with sugar. So it's a challenge. Yeah, it's a challenge.
You know, let me throw this in. I mean, again, I'm not a nutritionist, but I will tell you this. I had a number of students in class that were like, hey, Andrew, I'm training for a marathon. I had to lose all kinds of weight. And they found that they didn't. In fact, sometimes they would gain weight training for a marathon. And here's my opinion, guys, and I'm sure there might be people on the call here that might disagree, or maybe their opinions or maybe their experiences are similar. I think if you're trying to lose weight, it's about 80% diet, right? In other words, running doesn't really make you lose weight. Running, you lose about 100 calories per mile. That's about it. So that means you go out for a 3-mile run, that's 300 calories. That's a slice of cheese pizza. So, I mean, if you're looking to lose weight, you know, really honing in on the diet, watching what you eat, especially the processed foods and the sugar, is super important. I heard somebody tell me once, you can't outrun a bad diet. And I think that's absolutely true. I mean, running gives you the cardiovascular benefit, the mental benefit, the strength training benefit, but losing weight, it's almost all about watching what you put in your mouth.
That's going to be very important to keep the diet and to watch what we eat.
It's hard. Oh boy, it's hard. Yeah.
Yes. Hardest challenge.
Yes.
So yes, let's move on to the next question.
Leticia?
Okay, I'll read it for you. Yeah, from Leticia Delvart, is it? Hello, Mr. Johnston. According to you, how are the benefits of marathon, which is endurance, determination, persistence, set goals, impacts on leadership style, and maybe compared to a non-marathon runner? And maybe compared to a non-marathon runner.
How are the benefits? In other words, what are the benefits for leadership that marathon training has?
So, if you compare marathon and something that is not marathon runner or not marathon runner, how do you compare to get those benefits, the endurance, the determination, persistence, set goals, and the leadership style?
Yeah. Yeah, good question. Well, again, I think what marathon training does is it prepares your mind for that whole notion of doing small things consistently over time, not just on the days that you feel like it, but on the days that you don't feel like it, right? That's what, I mean, to run a marathon requires that mentality, that practice, that discipline, small things done over time consistently on the days that you don't feel like. And so I think to become a good leader, right, or to become a successful entrepreneur, business owner, same thing, right? I mean, to develop loyalty in your team as a leader requires you as a leader to do small little things that show that you care every day. Even on the days when you're feeling lousy, you have to do the things that a leader has to do, like follow up, lead by example, right? Follow through, be consistent, do what you say you're going to do. You know, it's these small little things done over time. maybe some of you have heard of the author Simon Sinek. I love the way how he compares like falling in love and being a leader, right? He says it's small little things that you show your spouse or your significant other, right? That's how they fall in love with you. It's small little things that show that you care, done over time, that makes someone fall in love with you. Well, again, I think marathon training and leadership, same things, little things done over time. And I found that training, that being a marathon runner just keeps reinforcing that notion. And that's what's, I think, helped me in leadership and just in life. So anyway, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. So that's from, yes, she gave you that. So
Yeah.
I hope that answers. There is also, another question from Cap Nida here. Do you have any tips for young people how to keep running and joining race or marathon until getting old?
For young, you mean for young people to be able to keep doing it? Well, they just over an extended period of time, I'm assuming. Yeah, I think if you're a young person, in order to keep doing, like I've been doing this now for what, 20 years. I'm 51 now. I think the key is just be good to your body. I mean, like, again, I'll admit, guys, I'm slow, but I think going slower kind of is a little bit easier on your body. So I think, getting proper sleep, getting 7 hours of sleep, no matter what, making sleep almost religious about it, watching what you feed your body, stretching, not overtraining. That's super key as well. So if you take care of your body, just like if you take care of your car, it will go the distance. My dad is in his 70s, and he took up running in his 50s, and he's run, I think, as many marathons as I have. And so I think just doing the small things done over time and take care of your body, I think will let you do it into old age. So yeah.
Well, if you can read the chat room, Mr. Johnston, everybody's saying that, of course, all the non-runner and the runners, they are very inspired and feel that there is a courage for them to start running and to keep running.
Yeah. Wow. Look at all these. I didn't even notice all these over there.
Yeah. There's actually one question that keeps, it's just in my mind since the beginning of the session. You said that you had a very dark moment in life and you lost your job and suddenly you just, left alone and you started thinking what to do. But then again, you had that running already. Yeah. But could you, share with us what first step that you take or that you took at that moment, and how did you actually keep your mind set to the next goal or to the next step that you need to do in order to be able to survive that dark moment of life?
Boy, Alia, I think you're asking one of the most important questions this evening. And again, running helped me do this. In 2009, the American economy was going through a really bad recession. In fact, I think the one we're going through now is even worse. It was very similar. I lost my job. Hundreds of thousands of people were losing their jobs every month. And when something hits you out of the blue and it's really bad, a lot of times our first reaction is to freeze up. You just freeze. And that's why a lot of people, when they find themselves maybe even in like a physical survival situation or a financial survival situation, they just freeze up and then they give up. And again, I had 3 small kids at the time, and they were small at the time, and I was unemployed. I mean, it was, and I was 40 years old. There were no jobs to be had. And so I'm working a bunch of part-time jobs, and I'm like, I got to get to work. I got to figure something out. And so ironically, you know, that dark time in my life ended up being the best time of my life, because that's when I discovered teaching. I had lost my job and I said, you know what? I've always wanted to teach. I think I'm going to just take this moment and do something that I want to do. I'm 40 years old. Let's do something completely different, something that I really want to do instead of something that I have to do. And so I called every single community college in Denver. And I introduced myself to the department chair, and I just left them messages. And by the way, I was unemployed. I was working part-time jobs for various part-time silly jobs for 443 days. It was the most demoralizing, awfulest, humbling situation ever. And I said, you know, I'm just gonna teach. I think I'd be a good teacher and a good coach. So I called every single community college. After 3 months, somebody finally called me and said, hey, Andrew, would you like to teach a basic accounting class? And since I had been a former accountant, I said, sure, fine. And it didn't pay very much. I mean, it was almost like volunteer work. And I said, you know, I've got nothing else to do. I might as well. So I took that class. This was January of 2010, spring of 2010. And so I took that class teaching basic accounting. And I'll tell you what, if you can get people fired up about accounting, you can get them fired up about anything. I love teaching accounting. And fortunately, my boss loved what I was doing. He said, hey, Andrew, guess what? I'm going to be retiring next semester. You ought to put in for my job. My job. Perfect. Well, that very next semester, it was fall of 2010, is when I became a full-time professor there at Red Rocks Community College. That never, ever would have happened. I had zero teaching experience. That never would have happened had I not gotten laid off. And when I got laid off, I just called and called and called and called, set a plan, and just kept calling these people till somebody gave me a chance to start teaching. And from that experience, you know, I created the Change the Challenge class, the TED Talk. That's where I am today. And I guess my point here, Alia, and this is why I love that question, is, you know, man, if you're going through something really dark, really bad, like a lot of folks are right now, as hard as it is, it could be the best opportunity for you. Don't freeze up. Look at where you might be able to find something, find that little opportunity. And because I guarantee it, it's there. If you just look hard enough, it's not going to be easy, but there is opportunity in adversity. And I can just tell you right now, I was able to find opportunity through adversity. And marathon running, marathon training absolutely helped me with that. And ironically, from teaching, I was able to combine the love of running with teaching and with leadership. So anyway, that was sort of a long-winded answer there, Alia, but I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it's lovely to hear the answer from you. So yeah, the next hashtag that we need to have is not about doing the occasional big things. It's about doing the consistently small things.
Absolutely.
Because you will not know what's going to happen next or what's in front of you until you do the next small steps.
Yeah, you know, yeah, if you're going through something tough right now, you know, it's a physical, you know, maybe it's a medical problem, maybe you've lost your job, maybe your business is in trouble. I mean, there's a lot of folks hurting right now. I would just say, don't freeze up. Don't freeze up, right? Just you know, look for the opportunity, set a plan, just keep going, keep going, keep going, and you will find that opportunity. You know, the other thing I would tell people too, and this is, again, through adversity came opportunity. Find that thing that you love. Find that thing that you love and that you're good at, and then figure out a way to share it with others. Right? I mean, the only thing better than doing what you love is sharing what you love. So find that talent, that passion that you love and that you're good at. And if you can find a way to share it with others, I mean, maybe there's a business opportunity there, or, you know, who knows? But I think that let that guide you. Let that guide you. And I mean, I'm doing what I love right now, what I'm good at right now. when I die, they're either going to find me in the classroom or they're going to find me on the running trail. And
only two options.
Absolutely. So, you know, yeah, money's important, no question. But if you can find what you love and what you're good at, and you can find a way to help others with it, I think that's where the real beauty of life really starts to come real.
All right. Thank you, Andrew. So, Novie?
Yeah. So I mean, just to conclude that, so you know, the grit, the perseverance, and keep doing the right things, the passionate things that you like. You know, lead by example. I think that's what you get to be successful.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah,
So yeah, we have so we'll have the maybe the last question, right? I will combine questions.
Okay.
Do you have a back? There's a question from Mas Bayu Mahendro. Is that do you have a backup plan when your race plan doesn't work? And also from Mas Khairul, is how many times a marathon should we do in 1 year? Because there's a certain opinions on that. You know, how many marathons that you can do in 1 year for your body and for your body to recover before you go into another marathon. So I think we can post all the questions for tonight with these last two from Mas Bayu and Mas Hero.
Sure. Well, Novie, yeah, as far as, let me answer the second question first. How many marathons should you do in a year? I think it really depends on the person. I don't know if there's really a right answer. I think it's, like I only do like 3 or 4 races a year. Well,
it's your energy.
Yeah. Novie, and maybe this is a good way to end it too. I mean, I love that. Here's the thing. People will say to me, hey, Andrew, how do you run a 50-mile race?
So thanks again once for joining. And well, I hope we see each other again in the next sessions with other interesting topics, of course. Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody, and good morning, Andrew.
Thank you, Novie.
Yeah.
Okay, guys.
Happy
running. Take care. So long.
Stay healthy, everybody.
Take care.